head on over to the Hannibal TV, give them a follow or subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and make sure to interact with our videos. Help us out a little bit over there. We put up our clips there. And also, we will go ahead and go straight into the Skype dance.
A big thank you to Hannibal the Cannibal.
Hannibal the Cannibal.
Skype dance, baby. Hey, Geoff, are you there?
Yes, sir. 1 second.
No problem at all.
I'll be back, girl. Where my hat go? How you doing?
Maybe I'll doing good. Geoff, how's everything over there?
Just another day.
Absolutely, man. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so happy to have this next guest back on the show. He is a part of that absolutely awesome Fortis MMA team in Dallas, Texas, under the tutelage and coaching of the great Saif Saud. We're talking about the Hands of Steel himself, Mr. Geoff Neal. Welcome back to the show, Geoff.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
You're very welcome. Always a pleasure to talk to you, man. So you have a big fight coming up at UFC 245. Our team is going to be there in person, man. So I can't wait to be able to say hello to you in person and shake your hand at some point, man, because you are a good guy. I like the things you say. I've watched your interviews. You are a guy that looks like is humble and respectful and well-spoken, and you think before you speak, and it looks like you're also just a good-natured guy, man. So I just wanted to throw that out.
I really appreciate that, sir.
You're very welcome. So Platinum Mike Perry, he is a crazy guy. He's a character, but last time we had Saif on the show, he said that Platinum has come at you only respectfully going up to this point, right?
Yeah, it seems that way. We'll see how it is during fight week.
That's true,
right
too.
Now,
yeah.
It's been respectful.
Say that last part again?
It says so far it's been nothing but respect.
That's cool. And so do you feel that this is the biggest challenge of your career, or do you try not to look at things that way?
I mean, I really see every fight as like the biggest challenge of my career. You know, that's how the fight game is. The next fight is always harder than the last one. So he's going to be a real tough fight. He's one of the toughest dudes in the division, and I'm hoping to get the finish or just the win. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think you're on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC now, right?
Yes, sir.
That's got to be a good feeling, man. What impressed me was that win over Nico, because I'm sure you saw Nico's last fight, didn't you, against Vic?
Oh, yeah.
You know, man, I mean, that was impressive. I mean, Nico seems like he's the kind of guy that you got to almost kill him to stop him. And that was really impressive, the way that you were able to stop him. I know that you gave him a lot of credit, but man, that's a bad man right there. And I think it just, the funny thing is when you beat someone and then they look so good against everyone else, it even makes you look better. But that probably didn't surprise you. I have a feeling that it's possible you two young men may see each other somewhere again down the line.
Yeah, I do see that happening. If he keeps winning like he's winning, and I keep winning, we'll meet.
Yeah, absolutely. Two exciting fighters. So this is going to be a good match, man. A lot of striking that would take place here. I think that Mike Perry really likes to keep the fight on the feet, and I think that you're fine with that as well. Do you ever look at things like in regards to like what your opponent brings? May I ask, and you don't have to give away any secrets you don't want to give away, but do you look at things the way that some fighters do and some camps do and say, man, I'm going to do everything to take this where my opponent is not comfortable. I'm going to do everything I can to not jump in his wheelhouse and to go and get the W by taking as little risk as possible? Or are you the opposite kind of guy who says, hell, I'm going to go in there and beat him at his own game? Or do you kind of take a middle ground?
It's honestly it really depends on how he comes out in fights, because his earlier fights he was known for brawling and coming forward, but his last few fights he's been a little bit more technical and conservative. So it really depends on how he wants to come out and fight, and that's going to dictate my game plan. I'm not the type of dude that's like I'm gonna beat him where he's good at. I'm the other fighter, you know what I mean? I want to negate his strengths and use mine.
Makes sense. How do you feel about fighting in Vegas? Will this be a first time for you, or have you been there before?
This is the second time fighting in Vegas. The first fight I had in Vegas was on the Contender Series.
And you won that.
Yes, sir.
So it's coming back to a good memory, huh?
Oh yeah.
Now, does Las Vegas present challenges to you? I know 90% of fighters are going to say no, but just being straight from man to man, do you start thinking, man, I'm going to get over to the sports book and I'm going to get over to the shows, I'm going to meet some showgirls? Does any of that stuff jump into your head, or are you really able to not let any of that affect you?
I never let any of that affect me, to be honest. Like, usually when I go to fights, I'll fight and then I'll leave the next day, and that's what I'm going to do for this fight. And I've been to Vegas about 5 times already. I've hit the strip, I partied, I did what I had to do. I have no desire to see Vegas any more than what I've seen.
Makes sense.
Past.
Makes sense. You know, a couple of interesting facts about Las Vegas most people don't know is there are 2 interesting circumstances, man, in Las Vegas casinos, and you may have noticed this when I tell you this. One is that they never change the lighting. It always is just as light as it is in the afternoon, as it is at midnight, as it is at 3 in the morning, because they don't want anyone to get a feel that they've been staying there too long. And B, you don't see a clock on any wall of any casino.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. So because they don't want you to know what time it is and how much time you've been killing there, losing your money. So those are 2 good tips. Realize that, no clocks, and the lighting will stay the same. They want you to be in a time warp where you have no idea how long you stayed there. So to me, it is what it is, but man, it's like it's a little bit kind of underhanded if you really think about it, isn't it?
Luckily, I don't gamble, so I'll never have to deal with that.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So how's training going for this camp, man? You feeling good? You doing anything unusual, or who's contributing to some of the good work you're putting in this time?
Camp's going awesome. It went awesome. I'm actually finished with my camp. Right now it's just the finishing touches on everything. But I've had a whole bunch of training partners: Alex Morono, Ms. Brahima, Charles Bird, Clinton Williams. I've had plenty of people come in, give me rounds, and help me out.
Excellent. How about the tip you had from Uriah Hall that made your toe look that bad on that social media post? What happened? What was up with that? Tell me, please.
I'm not going to tell you the kick he was showing me, but I was practicing it.
Okay.
And I was looking in the mirror as I was practicing the kick, and I was like, okay, it's starting to look nice. And this was the bathroom mirror. So like once it started looking nice, I put a little bit more force into it and threw my hip out, and then I hit my toe on the counter.
Oh, no fun. That's no fun. Yeah, Uriah does some amazing stuff. Still remember that spinning wheel kick, or spinning heel kick, as some people call it, from The Ultimate Fighter that he did. And he's definitely an asset to that team, a newcomer, but I hear he's fitting in pretty well.
No, he's fitting really well. It's like he's been a part of the team for a long time. I don't even notice that he's only been here for like 4, maybe, I don't even know if it's been 4 months. You know what I mean? He's a part of the team now. Very
cool. Speaking about having an unfortunate training thing that you did with your toe there, I'm not a professional fighter, but I still train my jiu-jitsu and had a striking background before that, and understood a little bit of wrestling, but didn't really participate myself. And so we're starting to do some freestyle wrestling takedowns, some singles and some doubles, and I'm getting to be a little bit of an old dog for that. So I came in and I did something, and I ended up sliding my knee all across the mat for about probably 4 or 5 feet. And sitting here 8 days later, I still have mat burn on my inside of my leg and my knee, and I'm like, damn. And I said, is that supposed to happen? And my friends to the wrestlers said, no, that's not really supposed to happen unless you're not doing a real good shot. And I said, I guess that's what you call it. So yeah, the training injuries do happen, and especially more for you guys that are doing it at a high level. And that's something that a friend of mine told me, that was a college wrestler and fought a couple of smokers, but never pursued the career as a profession. He said, man, everyone is fighting hurt. And he said in his mind, the difference is whether you're hurt or you're injured. And he said, if you're injured, right, and that's really what it is. If you have a severe injury, then that's something that's not really what you want to take with into a fight, although sometimes you have to. But it's almost like everyone's banged up to some extent, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean? Like when you're just like hurt, you know what I mean? You can, when you're going, you don't feel like the pain of what's like really hurt. You know what I mean? And I tell people this all the time. I was hurt way more often when I played football than I do in MMA. So I feel like MMA is like a relatively safer sport than football, but that's debatable. But yeah, I feel you 100% on that.
Absolutely. Also, weight divisions, man. They 2 years ago announced that the sport of mixed martial arts can implement the following changes in weight divisions. They can put in 165, take out 170, put in 175, and put in 195, and put in 225. So obviously 195, 225 wouldn't apply to you. But if they did put in 165 and 175, which do you think you would jump on first?
I'll do the 175. I don't know. I wouldn't even try to cut to 165.
That's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, I could if I really, really wanted to, but that'll be pushing my health, and I don't want to do that. 170 is enough for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was talking to, it wasn't a commissioner. This is going way back. I was talking to someone that was either a big-time referee or a promoter or one of the people that created one of the big promotions, either the UFC, Art Davie, or someone else. And I remember saying, I really think that this is exciting, the thought of putting in these extra divisions. And I said, what's going to be really good about it is you can get some of the guys to stop cutting crazy amount of weights. And he said, well, he said, you might think about it that way, but he said, what about the guys that are then going to try to cut 5 more pounds to make it?
That is true.
Yeah, right? What do you think, though? Would that, I mean, I guess both could happen, but I tend to think that to have a few more options for weight divisions, it would be more helpful than it would be harmful and making people trying to cut even lower. What do you think?
I see it, especially with the 170, 165 weight class. You know what I mean? We have like a lot of welterweights, but when you at the 170 pound weight class, it's going to be a lot more people that used to fight middleweight. They're going to try to get down to that 175 because they know they can do that.
Right.
So that'll probably push some of the 170ers to try to make that extra 5 pound cut to get to 165. But I don't know. I feel like we should follow like how one does it with the same day weigh-ins.
Yeah. I like that.
That will for sure stop people from cutting weight.
I agree 100%. But also, isn't there something in certain states, or is this all of UFC now, that says that you can't weigh more than 15% more on the day of the fight than you weighed in 36 hours before? Can you tell me? Do you know what that is, or where that's implemented?
I'm pretty sure that's only California that does that. And you can still fight, but they'll recommend that you move up a weight class.
That makes sense. And speaking
I'm not too sure about it because I'm not worried. I'm not going to come in more than 15 pounds above my weights, but I think that's it.
That's cool. And you had a pretty good amateur career. I think you were like what, 6-2 or something like that?
No, I was 10-1.
10-1. That's an excellent amateur career. Have you been 170 welterweight from the very start?
No, I started off. I made a shot for 155. My first 2 fights were at 155.
Oh wow! And
I'll never do that again. My first fight I weighed in at 158, and then the second fight I only made it to 160. Yeah.
No, that's tough because you're what, about 5'11"?
5'11", yes sir.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. So what are you looking at in the future, man? A win over Mike Perry will very possibly get a number put next to your name, and are you going to have something to say, God willing that win comes your way? I know you're not looking past Mike at all, but are you going to be getting on your knees down to Dana saying, you got to put me in the title fight like George St. Pierre or some other guys? or is there going to be, when they come to you, not that you, although I've heard some fighters do kind of have a game plan of what to say, but when they bring you over afterward and say, Geoff, this is amazing, man, what are you looking for next? Anyone you have your eyes on, or what's your plan? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Honestly, I'm a step-by-step person. You know what I mean? I got this person in front of me right now. I got to get through him, and then after that, I'll see who wants to see who I want to fight next. I really haven't not that far ahead as far as potential opponents after this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question. I'm gonna, like I said, we're gonna be there at the event, and I've done a couple other events. And one interesting thing, and you may not know, might as well let you know, is that after you fight, and then they bring you back into the media room, the press there is possibly watching someone else's fight that fights after you, but when they bring you in, most people will want to talk to you. So it's kind of interesting because the press is in a weird situation where it's like they're kind of being told, do you want to talk to Geoff and miss this next fight, or do you want to not talk to Geoff? And so usually people have two people there, and then one of them will go talk to you. But I noticed that some of the fighters are in pretty good spirits. I mean, if you win the fight, they're only bringing the people that won back there. But a couple fighters say things like, man, I haven't even got back to my hotel room to shower. I haven't been able to call my wife or anything. What's your thought? Are you, when they say, okay, you just won the fight, but instead of showering or eating or calling your wife, we need you to go back and talk to people for 15 minutes. Does that bother you? Is that something that you wish you didn't have to do, or are you cool with that?
I mean, I'm cool with it. Could I do without it? Yeah, but it's what we signed up for. It's this isn't like regional promotions where you just fight, go back in the locker room and leave. This is a international organization. I mean, people want to hear you. People want to see what's on your mind. So it is what it is. You signed up for it. Deal with it. Could we do about it? Yeah, but this is what we got to do.
Absolutely. And if there was any other way to make it easier, like you guys could shower and make your phone calls or whatever, I'm sure the press and the UFC would probably wish that could happen, but it just, it would probably walk into the next two fights. So that would be tough. Well, man, Geoff, I really appreciate you being here. Can I pick your brain real quick on a couple other fights since I have you?
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate it. Now, let me ask you this. A lot of the big fights are on the same card as you. And I've talked to many fighters over the 3 years since we've had this show, and most fighters are okay picking winners because everyone loves the pros pick segments. I'm not the only one that does it. But some fighters in the past have told me I don't really want to make any predictions on any fighters that I'm going to be sharing a dressing room with at the same event. And so if you feel, so if you feel that way, okay, we'll skip on that 245 because you are a good guy. Or what do you think?
I mean, I really don't mind. Like, I can make predictions. What I mean? It is what it is. I'll be in the same locker room. They can be upset about it. It really doesn't matter. It is what it is.
Okay, especially since it's not going to be anything personal. But yeah, so here's what. So I'll throw some of these out to you. Give me your insight on how you think these fights unfold, and if you have a prediction at the end, that's fine. Or if you want to say you're on the fence, that's cool too. So 3 title fights on 245, as you know. And as well as your exciting matchup and several more. I remember an event a couple years ago where there were 3 title fights and all 3 titles changed hands. That could happen, probably a long shot, but breaking them down. Let's start out with featherweight. Max Blessed Holloway going up against the Australian Alexander Volkanovski, 2 weight divisions below you. How do you see that matchup happening? You got one guy with a 6-inch height advantage and more experience, but the other guy is just a beastly strong, fast guy. What do you think the fans should look at in that fight that maybe we might not be expecting or thinking of?
First I'm gonna say I got Holloway winning that fight.
Okay.
But it's gonna be a tough fight for him. Volkanovski, he's powerful, he's fast. He's gonna come out in the first 2 rounds real explosive. I feel like Max is going to weather the storm, and then when he gets to the deep waters, the championship rounds, that's where he's going to shine and take the fight away.
Makes sense. A lot of these really short fighters can do all right. I mean, Henry Cejudo is maybe an exception, even though at his weight division, a lot of guys aren't that much taller than him. But it seems like a lot of the guys with kind of like the Mike Tyson build back in the day that are like 3, 4, 5, 6 inches shorter than everyone just don't end up getting it done in MMA, although there are exceptions. But does that make sense to you? Does it seem kind of like if you are like shorter than short for your weight division that it's going to be stacked against you, or do you think that it just depends on your skills?
It depends on your skills, and it is kind of tough. I mean, to be the shorter fighter, it's tough because like it's hard for you to mount any offense when the dude has so much range on you and he can just use his jab to stay away from you, or he can like wait for you to come in, take one step back, and then counter you as you're coming in. So it's real tough for the shorter fighters. You just got to figure out how to get in and how to exit without getting hit, or if you're trying to go for takedowns, you got to figure out your entries. It's tougher. It's going to take a lot more thinking than athleticism for a shorter fighter to get wins on taller fighters.
Yeah, and it seems like with guys like Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson and Henry Cejudo that were just all-world athletes and really, really phenomenal wrestlers, that may be like one of the exceptions. If you're that far superior, right, a wrestler, or if you're just that far superior an athlete, you know. But yeah, it's interesting, you know, how that works. But you know what? Another thing makes me think of, man. I've been watching this sport for many years. I know you have too. I remember way back when Fedor started out in Pride. And I remember Bas Rutten mentioning that he's never seen ground and pound like that. I mean, Fedor was in people's guard and getting enough leverage on his punches that you would just hear pop, pop, pop. And I remember thinking too, what the hell, man? How is he getting that much leverage on his punches in someone's guard? And I guess the game has evolved definitely since then. But have you ever thought about that? That it's like is it, you know what, one of my friends told me, who was a real good wrestler, he said it just must have been some of the biomechanics of Fedor's body and the way he could move and get really explosive power from a short distance, almost like that Bruce Lee 1-inch punch. But is that something that you think we might see again, or is that something that's becoming tough now with the fact that people are playing their guard game and scrambling on their back a little bit more? Because I'm not really seeing as fierce ground and pound. I see you do it really well, but is that something that that you have any thoughts on?
I feel like MMA is changing. I feel like people aren't sitting in the guard as much as they used to hunt for submissions. Normally, when people are getting taken down now, they're trying to get back to the cage and standing up. You know, so it's gonna be tough to see ground and pound like that, just because the guy is not going to be hunting for submissions. You're not going to get ground and pound like that on a dude that's constantly trying to get up.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also the scrambling up, man, it almost seems like nowadays getting someone down and keeping them down is really tough. Like once in a while you get a friend over who's not that familiar with the fight game, and they see like 4 fights where guys take someone down, they scramble right up, and then you see one fight where a guy keeps someone else down. I guess when you get sweaty, it also becomes harder to hold someone down, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And when you see people start holding people down on the ground, it's usually because the person that's on the ground is getting tired. You know, once you start getting tired, it's harder to go for those scrambles to get up.
Interesting point. You know, another thought I had that I heard a couple people mention, I actually tell you a couple funny things. I remember the one fight with Kat Zingano against Macie Tate, where Macie Tate had her hand on the ground where you couldn't knee her in the face, and I think Kat Zingano kind of like lifted her up a little bit, pulling her hand off the ground, and then kneed her in the face. But she kneed her like literally about a half an inch after Micie's hand got off the ground. And I remember reading something just recently, I forgot who it was, saying they're going to try to do something where they pull someone up out of a crouching position so they can knee them. Is that something that people are thinking of, or is that a strategy we might start seeing more of? Or do you think most fighters are really trying to just make sure that they're not going to be involved in having a point taken away from them, or possibly looking like they're trying to violate the rules or punk someone or something?
Honestly, I'm going to stay away from it because there's too much gray area. I would hate to be dominating a fight and then doing something like that and then getting DQ'd for it. So it's not something that if a situation comes about like that and dude's playing the little hand game, whatever, I'm just going to let it be. I'm not going to try to go for the knee. I'm just going to figure out something else to do. It's not worth it.
Makes sense. Question, eye poke or groin shot, which is more unpleasant?
I would say the eye poke. Just because it'll fuck up your vision. You know what I mean? A groin shot, it hurts, yeah. But you can recover. But sometimes, like, when you get poked in the eye, that it doesn't, you don't recover as quickly. Makes sense. Just like with the Stevens fight, like, yeah, he couldn't fight for, like, that fight was off and they had to reschedule. Yeah, I remember that. And the rematch was amazing. Wish the rematch could have been 5 rounds. That was there. But back to the last 2 fights that I want to get your opinion on. Let's go over to we'll save the ladies for last. Let's go over to Colby versus Kamaru Usman. This is almost like the same guy fighting each other, except one guy is a little bit longer, right, and lanky. What do you think? What should we look at in that fight that the fans might not really be familiar of, who feel that we're looking at exactly the same guy fighting each other? Yeah, they're both real solid wrestlers. I feel like it can go one or two ways. It can be really boring and that they're just fighting for a position on the cage to try to get a takedown, or it's going to be a striking match. That's really the only way I see the fight going. I don't see anybody get dominated on the ground. It's going to turn to be a striking match, and I feel like I have Usman winning that one.
Yeah, if he looks anything like he looked against Woodley, then it's going to be really tough for Colby. It's kind of ironic because in this fight you have the champion who is the man like wearing the white hat of the good guy, and then you have the challenger, the man wearing the black hat of the bad guy who everyone hates. And so it seems like Kamaru Usman being the force for good and Colby Covington being the force for evil. So it's kind of a funny matchup if you look at it that way, although a lot of people are saying Covington's force of evil is a put-on that replaced the fact that 5 years ago he had to have a sign out in the streets saying, "I will fight for food." And you know, that's not a good situation when you're having to do that. So he did change it up. Yeah. That was where he was at about 5 years ago, pretty much saying, "I'm just beating people, but I can't. You don't even want to make me fight." So he changed it up there. But that should be a really interesting fight there. I think it will be competitive. I think those guys definitely have some bad blood, so it'll be a good fight. So you think Usman in that, and then the final one is the double champ, the champ Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, defending her bantamweight title against the former featherweight champion. They did fight 6 years ago. Both of them were very early in their MMA career. I think they both like to use that and have the other one kind of refute it, because Jermaine says, I was an 8-time Muay Thai champion, but I knew nothing about takedown defense and not much about grappling of the ground and pound. And now she's training over at AKA, which is pretty impressive. Fortis also, your school being one of the other most impressive schools out there. And so that could be a big difference. And so she says, I'm not going to be the same. Whereas Amanda says, I was really a beginning fighter overall in that fight, and I still beat you. What do you think? How do you think that fight plays out? And what are some of the interesting factors that we could look at as fans?
To be honest, I have Amanda winning. I just feel like she's on a roll. She's on another level mentally, and it's gonna be a minute before somebody comes to beat her. Once Macie gets up to speed, she'll come and take that belt from her. Absolutely,
and I'm excited about seeing that Macie, who's been on the show 3 times, and we love her. Macie is signed to fight the former Ultimate Fighter winner at flyweight, Nico Montano. And she's gonna go have to beard the Lioness in the Lioness's den over in New Mexico. So she's gonna be going over there, not having the crowd behind her. But I know you guys, as many of you from Fortis, are gonna be there, and I'm gonna be cheering for Macie. We'll see if we can grab her back on here and talk to her again, because I think she's gonna be coming out with breathing fire after getting edged in that last fight. I'm sure she wants to take it out on someone, huh?
Oh yeah, 100%. She was shit after the fight. She got back in the gym like not even 2 days later, and she's been working ever since.
Nice. And she's got Bea Malecki. I call them like the twin towers of Fortis, female Fortis MMA, and they're amazing, and they're just both so nice. And so, man, your team is killing it, man. Well, Geoff, I really appreciate you coming back on here again, man. Can't wait to see you over there in Las Vegas. And if there's any last thing you want to shout out, if you want to shout out any sponsors or anyone that's been helping you, or let people know where on social media they could show their love and support for you, I'd love to have you let us know.
You can find me on social media, Hands of Steel MMA, HANDZ of Steel MMA. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And check out my website, www.hosmma.com. You can find all my sponsors and all that there. And that's it. Big shout out to my team, Fortis MMA. We did big things in 2019. We'll do the same thing in 2020.
Absolutely. It's going to be 2020 vision. I see Fortis winning every fight they're in, and I look forward to you going out and grabbing the W. And we'll look forward to seeing you over in Las Vegas, man. Thanks so much for coming on here and chatting with us.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a good night.